Hey everyone, it's Daniel Diamond. So I'm just taking a walk outside this evening and I'm gonna do a walk and talk this time about relationships. I would say that's a huge topic. I mean, a lot of people are confused these days. There's a lot going on. In fact, a lot of people are really just separated. They're isolated and not even in a relationship. If they are, they're sort of worried that, oh, their partner might come home with the virus and this and that. But it's kind of a topic I've been brainstorming for a long time to try to really complete and just get a lot of good information. I really wanted to think about it a lot over time here and there, and before I really made a video about it. So at this point, I don't think there's really much else for me to realize or know, whether based on my own personal experience or just insights I've had and whatnot. So I mean, there's a lot of places I could start with this. It's easy to get all over the place with the topic of relationships because there's so many topics within topics, and so it branches out to other topics that are related. The list goes on. So I'm probably going to call this all about relationships and more, and really just make a really good video that's complete and really it might take the course of a couple of days. For example, I might make this video and have sleep on it, have a couple of epiphanies, and make a second edition, etc. There could be a series, who knows? But this is all very spontaneous. I'm not reading anything. It's all just in the moment, going from my mind and whatever comes out. And so, out of the many places I could start, I'm going to start with yourself, because I would say that is actually the most important thing regarding relationships, because the truth is there is no outside yourself. You're with someone, but everyone is always our mirror. Everyone is always mirroring back who we are, because you can't get outside yourself. So think about that one. The world is your mirror, and including people. So you're always projecting to some degree out onto other people, and people are projecting out onto you. And so they're always going to mirror back to you, the way that you respond to yourself. Whatever you hear them say, you're going to respond as if you were saying the same thing back to yourself. And the list goes on. So it's really, relationships to me are really a matter of perception in a lot of ways. We can get beyond the hormonal factors and the physical chemistry and your heart pumping and all that. But a lot of that, there's a lot of distortions. I think a lot of, let's say, not completely true ways of looking at people in relationships that get people pulled in to a lot of distortions. And I'm not trying to stir up or challenge anyone's relationship or their perspective or their happiness, or if they should question themselves or another person. So I'm just putting out information. You can do what you want with it. I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm right about everything. I'm not trying to get you to come back and say I'm wrong or something. It's really open-ended and exploring possibilities, and just what I feel like I know based on my experience, based on just all kinds of number of reasons, realizations I've had, and so forth. And so, and unfortunately, I think a lot of people, they're doing the opposite too. They're looking for happiness outside themselves, and they're looking for someone to complete them. And and so instead of finding happiness and completion from within first and then finding someone, I feel like people are sort of feeling like when they're alone, that once they finally found that perfect partner, that soulmate, whatever you want to call it, then they'll be happy, then they'll be complete, then they'll be inspired enough to live their life in the full, and the list goes on. And certainly people, a good relationship will bring us lots of inspiration, will bring out what needs to be worked on. We always want to be at our best in a relationship. We want to look our best, feel our best. We want to present our best self to our partner, of course. So there's so many benefits to relationships. And it's like, I think basically we we all have different reasons why we're in any given relationship, and it's no wrong in why that is, whether it's currently bad or good, so to speak. That's just in our own karmic destiny. That's our karma. That's what we are in because we did the best with our own level of awareness. And it's just what we find ourselves in due to a lot of reasons. It's who we've magnetized to us. It's who we've, I'm not going to say we're not victims. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that can be good at, manipulating people and presenting a version of themselves that is not accurate at all. And, and again, these people are doing that because either A, they were born with a certain condition or personality disorder or what have you, or they've been through a lot of trauma in their youth that they never could resolve. Or they have a distorted sense of the opposite sex. They think the opposite sex deserves a lot of bad treatment or something. And they're out to just, sort of covertly get revenge or, vent out on another person because they have a lot of issues inside and that they just can't help but project out onto others. There's a lot of reasons why all that can happen, but you can do no wrong in working on yourself to the full first. While you're single, do the best you can. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It doesn't mean you have to all of a sudden, be like Mr. Enlightened before you find Mrs. Perfect Enlightened. And I don't really necessarily believe enlightenment really exists. It's just an ongoing process of becoming more aware of who you are and getting to higher and higher levels of wisdom and understanding. But I don't want to get too off topic here. So I said it before, but I'll say it again. My Spotify playlist, I'm not making money from recommending this. This is simply a playlist that I made and been adding on to just because I like it and I like to tell people about it. I'm not profiting. I'm not supporting. I am supporting the artists on there, indirectly. I'm not being paid any money or anything. No endorsements. So it's this deep dive meditation list on Spotify. Find that, and you'll find all kinds of ways, tools to access your inner being and work on your shadow aspects, your beliefs, your perception, your internal dialogue. Because what you believe about yourself and what you think you deserve, you're going to get from another person. So if you think you deserve bad treatment, if you think that you're something terribly wrong with you, you're probably going to find someone to validate that for you. So if you don't work on those issues first, you're virtually guaranteed to attract someone who's going to do that for you, or if not, they're probably going to be repulsed by those aspects of you if they have those issues themselves cleared out. And that could really test the relationship once you pass the stages of the so-called honeymoon stage, the first 6 months. I think you're in love, you're just so attracted, you're sort of in a fantasy world of walking on clouds and everything. But once that passes, then now also, I'm talking about two people here, but there's lots of people now that are doing open relationships, and of course we can get into the topic of monogamy, whether or not that's natural or not. I will just put this out right now. I'm actually listening to the audiobook, haven't finished it yet, but Sex at Dawn, I believe is what it's called, DAWN. And it really talks about our history of human sexuality and what we used to do, and maybe there's been a lot of a lot of programming or conditioning we've been through that have made us choose relationships a certain way or view them, or choose monogamy for one reason or the other. And there's lots of reasons why we sort of have these imprints in our mind that can even unconsciously, even on an unconscious level, make us make certain decisions and base relationships sort of the foundation off of these things. And but once you believe different, you might choose different. You might choose to be in a different kind of relationship, an alternative relationship, if you will. And all I got to say is what is the most authentic and natural and real is going to be the most healthy, obviously. Whatever is the most distorted or based on falseness is obviously going to be the least healthy. So I'll let you decide what is healthy, what is not healthy for you, and what is false and what is true. And even if monogamy is not natural per se, there can be a lot of reasons why we choose just to be with one person. And so there's nothing wrong with being with one person either. So it's all depending on what you consent to together, or with different people, and as long as your heart's in the right place and you have good intentions, good motivations, you're not going to be perfect. You're going to do a little harm to each other. Like I said in my previous talk, which I'm not sure if that will get up, if you'll hear this first, or you would have heard any of those other talks first. But we're always going to do some negative stuff to ourselves and other people. It's just part of the very makeup of being human in this realm, and it's something we can't escape completely. But that negativity can be used productively and actually turn out to be more positive, in a way, like, through the arts, through singing, playing instruments, working out, going out in nature. Those are just a couple of examples. Obviously, spending time with someone in a relationship and inspiring each other, growing together, learning new things together. So now, with that said, so if you're doing a deep dive meditation list, and like, let's say you're reading or listening to the audiobook version of Sex at Dawn, I mean, I don't really think a lot of these relationship experts out there and stuff are really going to be necessary. I just think, a lot of people say just be yourself. That's like the classic example, or classic piece of advice that you'll typically hear from your parents or whatever is, oh, just be yourself, and you want someone to love you for who you are. But there might be aspects of who you are that are continuously turning people off. So there's always stuff to consider about yourself, and you don't want to keep spinning your wheels and doing what's gonna be counterproductive over and over and over again, because some people can remain single their whole life or years because of that, or they end up settling for someone because they feel like they deserve settling for someone when all is said and done. Some people don't think they're worthy of someone that they really love, and there's a lot of problems with society, I would say, that really interfere block us off from really finding, like you could say, true love. And well, see, this is actually a good opportunity to bring up what true love is. So true love to me is, now first of all, if you could accept every aspect of yourself, large and small, from the micro to the macro, from the subtle to the large, everything you've done in your past, and you're already chosen to accept everything you're going to do in the future, and you accept everything as you are in the present, and you don't judge yourself. You don't like try to separate yourself from those aspects. You just totally accept it. You love all of it. You honor all of it. You don't judge it. You don't try to curse it out or anything. So, and honestly, if you can do that with yourself, then you can do that with another. Unfortunately, I would say this is very rare, because it always seems like we're at the mercy of someone's opinion of us. Oh, God forbid, should we say this or do that, or support this person, or do this, or the list goes on, or like this band, or like this color, or like this shirt, or like this style, or like we're at the constant mercy of the opposite sex's judgment of us, because the first impression is everything, and a lot of times, if you say or do something, or even present yourself looking as your haircut, your clothes, anything, or you have a band shirt on, I mean, God forbid should they hate that band, right? Anything. It's like they could use it against you and say next, 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 next. And really, I think maybe in the United States in particular, there's a problem with a lot of people here being selfish, self-entitled, you could say they live in like their own solipsistic world, which means solipsism is like, I believe, is when you think that your world is all that exists and everything outside is irrelevant, and it's a really selfish viewpoint to live in. And well, a lot of people have been programmed to think they deserve to have their cake and eat it too, or that they're like sort of God's gift to everyone and stuff like that. It's like, I think social media sort of, maybe, I think I'm being exaggerated about this. I mean, hopefully it's not quite as bad as this for most people, but it's sort of like, once you have like your 50K followers, and you've had like 10,000 likes and comments. Let's say, if you're a physically fit and attractive woman, and who's putting pictures up like that on Instagram, and you think you've made it, and you think like you're sort of being programmed to think that you might have an inflated sense of self. Your ego is blown up, you're on a pedestal. And so I'm careful with my words here and how I say things, because I don't want to like challenge let's say any woman listening to this, any men listening to this, and have them to be like, or even have people get uncomfortable because I start talking about something that's true about them, but they sort of are in denial about themselves too, and they just don't want to face that. They're more comfortable in all their stuck patterns and what they've been habitually doing, even if on an unconscious level, and they don't really want to change. They don't want to be challenged. So I'm just saying how I feel it is. It's like there's been so much commercialization in a lot of parts of the world, and all the media. You got to really know what this stuff is doing to you. You got to really examine your thoughts and your perspective on things, and really see what's healthy and what's not. And I mean, if you truly feel like you're overly self-entitled, you're looking for perfection, you're looking for this big laundry list where all the boxes have to be checked, or else that person's not good enough for you. I mean, then you really got to be asking what you're projecting and what this says about you, and what you have to work on that you're actually making about other people. If you're continuously rejecting, let's say guy after guy after guy, if you're a woman, and no guy is ever good enough, then you got to really examine what this says about you, what you're projecting, what you're not taking responsibility about, and what you're in denial about. A lot of it is about taking self-responsibility, owning things, accepting yourself in the process, not kicking yourself or thinking you're a terrible person. And but the truth is, if you are really like that, then why would a good guy really want to be with someone like that? You got to ask yourself that too. So it's not to say that you should be hard on yourself and think that you're a terrible person, but just that you're doing the best you can with your own level of awareness, and maybe there's some changes that need to be made, and you just accept yourself while you're making your changes. You do your inner work, your shadow work, you're meditating, you do what you love to do, you spend your time more productively. You be the kind of person that naturally should attract the kind of person that you really want, which is the kind of person, I mean, if you're not what you're looking for, then that good person that you ideally want is never really going to be attracted to you once they know who you really are. So that can be a vicious cycle that you perpetuate. So, and unfortunately, some people aren't able to change, and that's going to go for a lot of people, a lot more people than I would like to admit is possible. But that's just the way it's going to be. I mean, how many people meditate? How many people do inner work or shadow work or take responsibility and be the change they want to see in the world? Do unto others as they want done to themselves. They have a high level of ethics, morals, integrity. They're compassionate. They're loving. They're open-hearted. They're not giving into any corrupt agendas out there. They're viewing the opposite sex completely in a good, positive light. They don't vent out or take out their issues on the opposite sex in any way, shape, or form, etc., etc. Now, wouldn't you say that's a rarity? Unfortunately, it is, obviously. So, I mean, but I want to put this out there to people because, the more people we can get on this planet like that, the better, obviously. The better the world's going to be. And once people like that get together, two people, let's say, that are like that, whether they're monogamous or not, whatever, you can almost say that the more they spread themselves around, dating different people, being in an open relationship, the better, because that's the kind of person you want to have as an influence to a lot of people, right? So something to consider too. But also people who are really like that, they're probably more prone to be single longer because they're not going to want to. Not only will people feel like that they don't deserve someone who's really like that because they're not like that themselves, but also that the person who is like that will is just going to get turned off by people who are lacking in those things too much, and they would just rather be single because that's better than dealing with a lot of drama and a lot of headaches, and someone who has a lot of personality issues and is difficult and stressful and so forth, and expect too much, or be too condescending, or sort of like leaving the person, purposely treating the person wrong, or not seeing them often, and purposely holding back to make them feel like that they are doing something wrong, and the list goes on. It's like the bottom line is we can't help but project who we are to other people, and we can't help but having people be our mirror. And so it's like, we just, we were raised on our Disney movies, right? Most of us. And we were raised just how our parents taught us, and our teachers and our friends, our siblings, our brothers, sisters, whatever. And all the movies and the music and the media really shaped our minds at an early age. And that really, is shaping our relationships. So it's only the people that really see past all that, do their inner work, and change from the inside that are really going to be different than that. Otherwise, it's the same old thing, repeating the same old story over and over again. And you got to ask yourself, what is corrupt in this world that's leading to corrupt relationships? What movements from the past? What impressions is social media making on people? You got to ask yourself, is there ever an agenda behind these things? Is there everything corrupt behind these things? Do most people hold our best interests in the world? Does everyone or most people? Or even the people that we might idolize? Like, who knows? Like, do your research on that. That's all I'm really going to say about that, because people are going to believe what they believe about corruption and agendas and stuff like that. So, but all that stuff will definitely interfere with relationships enormously. I'm just going to say it briefly, but for women, what has the feminist movement done? On the good side, the bad side, examine that, and also ask yourself, is there a lot right now of covert mistreatment to men? Right? I mean, you might see it, it's going to be justified, it's going to be say, oh, you're crazy to think that. We're just kidding around, that's just a joke. That's just, that's like a comedy sitcom where they're just having fun and da-da-da-da. Well, really, are they? Because you have to wonder sometimes if they're cloaking humor and stuff like that with like really something that's dark. So just consider all that kind of stuff. I mean, I wish that this world was not full of corruption. I wish people got along. I wish there wasn't so much separation between the sexes and divide and conquer, and all this stuff going on. But if you really look at things and really look at it from like, you take the rose-colored glasses off, and you really see that unfortunately there is a lot of issues going on, and it really is dividing people. I mean, look, it seems like a lot of people think I'm a relatively decent or good-looking person, and that I have a good personality, and I'm artistic, and I'm talented, and all that stuff. Okay? But right now, I'm single. I'm speaking on behalf of lots of men out there. And I've tried. I mean, before the virus, yeah, I had my fair share of dates, and I would go out and talk to girls. I would use the dating sites and apps like most guys had to resort to. And even if you think you're going to meet someone through friends or at a party or at school, well, you're really kind of limiting yourself, right? If you depend on, you will meet someone through a large circle of friends and at parties. But is that what you're going to be happy with? Aren't you sort of settling? And obviously there's lots of people that meet wonderful people like that, and they really could fall greatly in love and are happy with that, and I condone that. That's great. But it does seem kind of limiting to me to think that you're going to meet maybe a very significant other through that way and just be content with that, and that's it, when you haven't considered lots of other options. And so I mean, and when I was dating more, it's like I would have moderate success, you could say, but I never really, there was always something that would come up, for some reason that would make it not really proceed very far for very long. And and it's also a lot of people out there who are not as nice as they might seem initially too, and we have to be careful with people like that. It's just I was walking down this nature trail and going back down the road pretty soon. It's kind of buggy back here, so it's a pretty nice night tonight. It's been kind of muggy. The weather's kind of been really hot lately, but I noticed last night and this evening it's pretty decent. So it's during the virus, so a lot of if I was to be honest, I would love to have had like a girlfriend, hanging out with a girlfriend tonight on a Saturday night, but I don't. And speaking on behalf of lots of people during the virus, and so but during the virus we're single, so now's the perfect time to invest in ourselves and become even more who we want to be, so we attract the right person when that gets more resolved and people are going out more, dating more and stuff, which is obviously going to happen. I mean, people aren't going to be single for months or years. So, but you know what? I actually would completely condone and find nothing wrong with meeting someone right now, despite the virus. And if you're symptom free and you meet in a low risk environment, like my town might have, let's say there's about 10,000, I don't know, let's say 11,000 people here, and maybe, I think in my last research, there was only about maybe 350, 400 people who could have the virus. So think about that. I mean, and obviously those who have it, who have the symptoms, they're not going out, they're not going to go out on a date. So your chance is virtually 0% if you're symptom free. But if you live in a large city, all I got to say is if you are symptom free, then I would say meet someone in a low risk community. Don't necessarily meet them in your city where there's lots of people around who could be contagious. I mean, you're playing around with fire there a little bit, but. And also, this is the time that we can need each other the most. A lot of people are stressful. I mean, being in a relationship can be great. It can be great for your health and your emotional and mental health. So moving onward about relationships. I mean, to me, it's like, once you really have your inner stuff handled and you're doing what you love to do, you're being the change you want to see in the world. You're trying to do to others as you want done to yourself. You have a high level of ethics, morals, integrity. You have an open heart. You've done your, like, maybe chakra meditating, for example, and you've developed an open heart, and you're speaking your truth. It's like, for example, it's like a lot of people get so disillusioned about approaching someone. I mean, to me, all you probably really have to say is something like, hey, go up to the person, be relaxed. We can get a little nervous, and that's okay. I think girls expect, like guys, for example, to get nervous. We're typically approaching first, but you could just say something like, hey, I just saw you, and I thought there was something about you, and I could either have chosen to, not approach you or approach you, so I figured I would regret it if I didn't. So here I am, and my name is blah, 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 blah. What's your name? Wait for their name. And I'm not giving lines here. I'm just saying you're just being natural. It's like you don't have to read these, 50 best pickup lines for girls books and all that kind of stuff. In my opinion, just to say something like reasonable like that. And if a girl is really interested, she's gonna love that. Why wouldn't she like that? Anyone would like that. Hey, there was something about you. I just I had the choice of whether or not to come over here, and I would regret it if I didn't. So here I am, and I just think that you have a great style. There's something about you. You seem really fun and nice, and I thought maybe we could connect well. So my name is blah 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 blah. What's your name? Oh, and then you just say like, talk about mundane stuff like, oh, so where were you and where were you before we started talking, and where are you headed? And like, what are you up to today? And if you're meeting at a public place like a mall, or you're meeting at a park, or who knows, something like that, and just get into the conversation and just talk about sort of like your surroundings and just little things like like it's like, you could ask them, for example, so what music did you listen to today? I'm a singer and a musician, and I did some karaoke last night, and I sung some of my favorite songs, and I learned some of these cover songs. I put them up on Instagram. The next thing you know, you're sharing your Instagram, and you're saying, hey, so what's your Instagram? Like, I put covers up on here, and it seems like we might like music a lot, so I just thought maybe we could follow each other, and then that could lead to just talking to each other a little bit more after that initial meeting in person. And then eventually the girl's like, basically eager to want to go out on a first date with you. So that's just an example. And I highly encourage girls to go approach guys first too. They can basically use the same stuff. Hey, I just thought there was something about you. You just had this charm or charisma. And girls, I mean, if a girl approaches me that I consider very attractive and seems like a nice, decent person, then, I mean, what guy is gonna like have a problem with that? No guy, right? Any guy who's single and actually not in a relationship. Girls, I notice these days, it's like, I don't know. I was going out, and girls would be like they got conditioning from like maybe the Me Too movement and whatnot, that you had to be so careful with men, or it's like, I mean, guys are supposed to approach girls, and I think girls have enough intuition to know when a guy is really, so-called creepy or not enough, right? So, I mean, if you're really a nice person, and I mean, I know some people are good at pretending to be charming and nice, and they got something rolled up their sleeve, but I mean, girls definitely have to be careful. But I think I just noticed that there was probably more of a problem because of the times, and because of Me Too at that time, and a lot of girls listening to the media and the programming, and getting sort of these distorted images of how a lot of men could be and stuff.